The earliest echoes of the Ulfhednar emerge not from legend alone, but from Norse poetry and sagas, sources that blend history with memory. In the Ynglinga saga, written by Snorri Sturluson in the 13th century, we are told of Odin's chosen warriors. His men rushed forward without armor, were as mad as dogs or wolves, bit their shields, and were strong as bears or bulls. They killed men, but neither fire nor iron harmed them. These were not berserkers alone. Among them were the Ulfhednar. These are men who wore wolf skins, not as protection, but as transformation. To be Ulfhednar was not merely to fight differently, it was to cease being human. Historical scholars believe these warriors belonged to cultic warrior brotherhoods, small elite groups bound by ritual, oath, and isolation. They lived on the edges of society, in forests, in mountains, away from farms and law. Roman historian Tacitus, writing in Germania, 1st century AD, described Germanic warriors as follows: altered their appearance, darkened their shields, and fought at night to inspire terror. In brief, fear was not a byproduct, it was the ultimate weapon. Before battle, the Ulfhednar prepared not with formations, but with ritual. Scholars suggest fasting, chanting, intoxicating plants, pain endurance, animal imitation, and so on. Their goal was a state of divine fury linked to Odin himself. A frenzy, a rage. In this trance, pain vanished, fear dissolved, strength multiplied. Enemies recorded men who fought half-naked in freezing cold, ignored wounds, and advanced howling like beasts. To face them was to face something unnatural. The sagas speak often of kings who kept Ulfhednar as shock troops and royal bodyguards. King Harald Fairhair, the unifier of Norway, is said to have used berserkers and wolf warriors to break enemy morale before battle lines even met. They were unleashed first. Their purpose was not prolonged combat, but collapse. When they charged, shield walls broke, horses panicked, men fled before contact. Enemies believed the Ulfhednar could not be killed until the battle itself was over. Whether true or not, the belief alone was enough. But what made the Ulfhednar effective also made them dangerous. To their enemies, they were monsters. To their own people, they were necessary but feared. After battle, these men were often isolated again. Their fury did not fade easily. As Norse societies became more settled, more agricultural, there was less need for wolves among sheep. With the spread of Christianity, warrior cults tied to Odin were outlawed. The battle trance became sin, the wolfskin became a curse. By the 11th century, the Ulfhednar vanished from history, not defeated in battle, but erased by law. Yet their image survived. A human can become something else when pushed far enough. Civilization demands discipline, but in moments of collapse, it still calls upon those willing to cross the line. Special forces, shock troops, men trained to endure what others cannot. The wolf never truly died. It learned to wait. Because when order fails and fear returns, civilization remembers why it once needed monsters.